Hey, good morning, everyone. Tim here, sitting out on the deck on this nice, cool morning. It's about 62 degrees, so it's a little bit cool out here. I didn't wear a jacket, but wanted to spend some time with you guys. But I do, I do want to welcome you back to mine and Carolyn's house. I hope you've been enjoying the videos we've been putting out, talking about our life. And I had talked about several different things, and we're right now at the point in our story about me having to be without Carolyn right now because she's already came home, and it's a transitional period for us. And there are a lot of transitional periods in our lives that we need to embrace and not think of them as being a bad thing, but knowing how good they are for us and what we learn and how we can improve our lives by transitional situations or times in our life. And it's kind of what our world is going through now, and here getting close to the end of time, and the Lord be coming back soon. And we're talking about the third awakening, and that's love, and that's what I'm expressing to you and talking to you about, through all of these videos. But again, like I said, this is a transitional time even for the United States, because we're fixing to come into this 2020 election time, and it's a very crucial time. And like I said, normally I don't talk much about politics, but I'll not tell you who to vote for. I'll tell you to make your own decisions about things like that, but you should judge them by what the Bible says about which party or which platform that you would vote for. And I talked about there's probably about five different platforms. I mean, there's multiple issues that are in this time for being on the voting on the Democratic platform or the Republican platform. But like I said, Carol and I had always did our voting and selection according to what the Bible says and how the Bible looks at different things. And like I said, there's about 5 areas that you need to look into, and when you vote, and that's one of the things about judges. The Supreme Court, as well as other judges. That's how we treat Israel, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that this morning. And also, I talked last time about abortion, about shedding innocent blood, and of course the family, and then also acknowledgement of God. Some is even wanting to take that out of their platform or their basis of their parties and stuff like that. And so, like I said, that's really the 5 areas that you need to look at. All these deals about education and finances and taxes and all that falls under these categories as well. But we want to use the Bible as our platform to how we vote, because it says in Numbers 24:9 and also in Genesis 12:3. And I said to talk a little bit about Israel, is how we treat Israel. The word says in Numbers 24:9 and Genesis 12:3, it says, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And we never want to live in a life of cursings, or being cursed, or having generational curse and stuff that will follow us through our life, because the life that God intended for us was to have a blessed life. And he said, I came to give you life and life more abundantly, and not to come give you a life of being cursed and more cursed. So just wanted you to think about those things this morning. That's very important. You hear all different kinds of things, but I can look through some different episodes and different things that's happened in life over the years, and the things that we faced here in the United States, and I can almost directly on these things talk about is how the United States treated Israel is how blessed we were, or how non-blessed we were, or how we deal with curses. I remember one especially, and I think y'all would all remember this because everybody's of age to remember this. Back in 2005, that's the time that they had signed an agreement that they would separate the land there and move a lot of people. And I say land there, I'm talking about Israel, on the settlements and things like that, and they were taking land away from them. That's something that you don't do, is take the land away from them, or have a two-party separation there in Israel, because that wasn't the intention of it when God gave the land to Israel. And that's why he said that he would bless those that would bless Israel, and he would curse those who curse Israel. And I remember I remember this one thing that happened in 2005. That's when they had taken some of the settlements away, and they gave it over to the Palestinians and things like that. And people were having to leave their home, and they were having to transition out of what they'd built. Which how would you feel if you had a home like that, and then someone came in and took it away from you and took your property and stuff like that? You wouldn't be very happy with that as well, would you? I know I wouldn't. So again, I looked at that, and that happened on August the 22nd, 2005, and so in about 3 or 4 days later, 3 days later, in August the 25th of 2005, that's when the United States experienced Katrina, and you saw the evacuation of people that left the coast, and you saw what the devastation was during that hurricane and storm, that happened with Katrina. And so you see the transition of moving those peoples out of the settlement and things like that, and then the transition or the evacuation of the people out of the Gulf areas, Gulf Coast areas during Katrina. You can see the direct relationships between that. So I'm not saying that the things that we go through here are the things that normally happen, but there's always a reason for situations. I know that we live in areas where we have a lot of tornadoes and stuff like that. When Carol and I moved here in 1997 and built this house and our property and everything, they called this area Tornado Alley, when there's a lot of tornadoes and storms that would come through here. We spent 20 some odd years praying over this area and our property and our neighbors and our home and everything. And now at this time, I know that we still have some storms and still have the warnings of tornadoes and things like that, but we don't have that like it was way back, because, like I said, they had named this Tornado Alley or whatever, because it goes from here all the way up to Oklahoma. They're still having a lot of bad storms and things in Oklahoma. I didn't say that to be derogatory or anything this morning, but I just want to talk to you about how important it is, how we approach things in life, and how we look at things, and actually how we vote, because that we want to be on the right platform. We want to be on God's platform about all these issues and things. And if we do, then God's going to, like I talk about all the time, about how much God loves us, how much He protects us, and how much He provides for us. And we want God's protection and love to be on us. Now, people say, well, we're under the judgment of God when all these things happen. The judgment is already set, and the blessing is already set, if I may say it like that. If you read in Deuteronomy in the Bible, it talks about blessings and cursings. It says, if you do this, you'll be blessed. If you do this, you'll be cursed. In other words, I am choosing to either be cursed or blessed. And I have chose to be blessed all my life. Now, how we had things come through that would try to throw us off from that, sure, but we always went back to our covenant that we had with God, to be people that were blessed. And Carol and I have been blessed all our lives, here, being married here 49 years, and the life that we've had together, and the life to come. We're going to be blessed in that life too. And so there are the transitional periods in our life, and understand that we don't look at those as bad things. We look at those as a point of learning and having discernment, and as beneficial things for us. But I just kind of wanted to say that to you this morning about, we have 44 days for the next election, and you need to get out and vote and cast your ballot for the ones that you want to be in rule and in control over you. Also talks about in Proverbs 29, and I repeat this a lot of times. It says that when the righteous are in rule and authority or in rule, the people rejoice. But when the wicked man rules, the people groan and sigh. And kind of look at that when we have certain times in elections and things. The people that are in authority over us, and how we experience life at that time, and are we rejoicing, are we sighing, are we groaning, are we complaining, or whatever, and so you have to look at those things. You can't get away from what the Bible says about how you do things in life, and how you choose blessings and cursings. It talks about that all the time, and so I think it's very important that we learn from that. And these are transitional. Again, I talk about a transitional time, when in our life. It's a transitional time for me to be in 2020. I talked about in 2020, we talked about vision, having 2020 vision, and then great manifestations of things happening, and we're seeing that, and then great changes are happening, and it's a transitional thing for me in 2020. Carolyn going on to heaven, and to be in our heavenly home there, and a transitional time that I'm learning to embrace and go through a transitional time to my life. It has changed, when those things has happened, but my life is always transitional for the better, and I thank God for that, and that's the way that you want your life to be. It's always the transition, always the changes, always the vision, always the manifestation of things would be in betterment for you. And you people say, are you saying you're better off that Carolyn has gone on to heaven? No, because I miss Carolyn, because she's part of me, and is still part of me, and still part of my life, and still part of the mission that we have together as a couple, her being in heaven and me being here on earth. But I always looked at transitional times in my life as an improvement, to help me improve in my life and help me to be a better overcomer in things, and how to deal with situations. So, I look at this time in my life and in the life of our country as a good thing, a good transitional things. The Bible always talks about whatever is hidden will be exposed, and so that's what we're dealing with now. There's a lot of hidden things that have been hiding, and now they're exposed, and so we begin to see those, and we begin to understand, where we are in this time of our life. And I'm understanding more where my transitional period is of growing and improving and enjoying a full life, continue to enjoy a full life. And that's what I want you to have. I want you to understand that's what love brings to you. It brings in a fulfillment, a transitional period, simply to improve you as a person, as a human being. And so that's what God's plan is for you. Remember, I always talk about how God's plans for you is to do you good and not harm, And so I just kind of want to talk a little bit about that this morning, about voting and things like that, which is very important. It's a privilege and a mandate on our life to be able to do that, to be able to cast our vote or what we want. So think about what you want. What kind of authority do you want to have over you? The word says that we live in this world, but we're not of this world. we live in this world where we do have rules and authorities and speed limits and things like that, and we abide by those rules. But those things that control our life or our outcome, they're kind of like boundaries and borders and things like that, and we have to live in it as citizens of here of this country or this world. But you that are believers are citizens. You have dual citizenship. You have a citizenship here on earth, and you have one in heaven. And so we always go by, what the prayer says: "Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." We know what the kingdom of heaven is like, and what the kingdom of heaven is about. We can have that kingdom here on earth. And that's the kind of life that I live, and that's the kind of life that you should live, and that's the kind of life will bring the love that I've been talking about, the perfect love, and having the perfect marriage, and being able to overcome this life, regardless of what comes our way. But again, cast that vote and speak your mind in your vote. Maybe you can't. Maybe you don't have a podium where you can stand up and talk, and things like that, and gather an audience, but you can speak what you are having and believing in your heart by the way that you vote, and we want the righteous to be in rule and authority, because we want to be have joy and happiness and live a peaceful life. And I know times are not peaceful, but throughout life, Carol and I have learned to live a peaceful life, even in a world of turmoil, in a world of changes and things that are hidden are now exposed, and the ugliness of this world. And we know we live in a fallen world, and we know that we are a remnant here that holds this all together, because as long as we're here, the Holy Spirit will be here, and He will help us to be able to overcome in this life. And that's the kind of life I want you to have, an overcoming a life where you can achieve, and you can have that type of love, have that kind of relationship and family and everything. But I just kind of wanted to say those things to you this morning. I didn't want to get too deep in that, but I want you to understand where my heart is to speak to you, to bring maybe closure in your life and mistakes and things that you made and failures that you have had in your life. Remember, there's always this transitional period, and that's what we're doing. We're the transitional period that we're working to move you out of where you're at now into the transitional spot of love, and that part of your life to be even better than it was there before. I think about God's word a lot. It says that His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And I think that's great, because we need to think higher. We need to think greater thought. We need to think better thoughts. We need to think of the goodness of God and see the goodness of our life that we have. We're such a blessed people to be able to have a life that we have, and to be able to overcome situations in our life. And it's kind of what we're dealing with. And I'm telling you our story a lot about our life, hoping that it will encourage you in your life. Doesn't matter where you're at and the mistakes you made. We've all made mistakes. The plan behind that is not to make those mistakes again, not to have those failures again, but to move on into the successes. When you do have those things in your life, if you move on to a successful time in your life, those things won't be able to influence you or attack you in living out your life the way that you're supposed to have. And so when you have success in your life, you may remember those things, but you won't remember the hurts and the confusion of those things. But you'll be to know, so hey, I overcame that, and so I'm looking for my life to be better in all those situations. That's the kind of way I was when, I told you Carolyn had to come home early. Actually, she came home about 3 or 4 months early, 3.5, 4 months early. And so there I was trying to transition back into the barracks and back into the life, without Carolyn being with me right then. But I knew that I would see her soon. And it's the same way the life that I have now. I know Carolyn has already gone on before me to heaven, and is on her assignment there, and I'm here on my assignment here on earth. But it won't be long that I'll be with her again, and I'll be able to see her again. And so that's similar to what it was when Carolyn had to come on home early because of what all was happening, and I kind of relate that to the situation that I'm in now, the transitional period I am in now. That was something that had to happen, and that was something that it was a good plan, and so when Carolyn had to come home early, and I had to go back living, on base there in the billets. I had to kind of acclimate how, that I would approach that and how I would think about that. You can approach certain things in your mind, and they can be devastating. But if you approach them the right way, and think about that He works. I believe this. That He works everything out for my good, because I belong to His. See, that's why it's important that you consider this and become a believer in Jesus Christ, that you become a born again person, because then I know what He has for me. He has for me and for you success in this life, to live this life to the fullest and be able to overcome it. We weren't thrown into this world to be failures and to be defeated. We were put in this world so we could be overcomers, and we learn to be overcomers in life. So think about that. Think about how you deal with situations. Don't think about your past. Don't think about all the things that you went through and all the things that you dealt with and all the failures that you have. I may be talking to someone who is now separated from their husband or separated from their wife, and they don't know what to do, and they're kind of, feel like they've been a failure. They have failed the situation, or now failure has come to them and to their family. I want you to know there's always a way out, that God has a plan for you. Again, like I said, to do you good and not harm. So I knew that, whatever the enemy brought against me, and the same way with you, that whatever the enemy brought against, enemy would be anything that and in our references, we talk about the devil or the spirits behind the evilness that's happening in our lives, that God has planned to make that and use that to help you overcome and do it and help you overcome it, so that it would turn out good for you. That He would take things that meant to be bad and turn them into good and turn them into blessings for you. Remember that. Don't live in that situation that you continue to think that you won't be blessed and you won't be able to achieve or be able to overcome these situations in life, which you can, especially if you have the help of the Lord, and you have my help speaking those things into you and encouraging you. And I'm telling you, yes, you will overcome. Yes, you will succeed in your life and in your marriage and in the things that you undertake and that you do. And so I just want to encourage you this morning, those that I know, some that I know personally by name, who I've been praying for them in their marriage, that God will show them the correct path and the correct thing to do. Transitional period for you in these things. Transitional period where, you've maybe even gone through a divorce or several divorces, or you've been abused, you've been taken advantage of. And I talked about it, that one of my videos about, you don't allow yourself to be taken advantage of. God doesn't intend for you to be pushed down and walked on and things like that. And I talked about that I had, and me being as the head of our family, will eventually be the head of this family, that when I was dating Carolyn, that I didn't take advantage of her because of her love and her passion towards me. Life does that sometimes. Life will try to take advantage of you, but I want you to rise up and overcome those what we may call disadvantages are being taken advantage of, and you'll be able to achieve those things and be able to walk on and live a victorious life. And so it's very important that you hear these words that I say to you today. Like I said, I don't really know how many people are listening to my videos and everything. I hope hundreds or maybe thousands are. I don't know for sure. If it's just a handful of people, it's very important that I put these things into you to tell you that when you deal with these things, they are just a transitional period that you were going through, and look forward for that to be a success and not a failure and not a put down for you. So that was the kind of mindset that I had when like I said, Carolyn came home. I was already an E5, specialist 5 in the special MOS mission of operations that I was in. And I was able to continue to not continue, but to make that rank before I got out of the military, because I'd only been in there less than a year and a half, yeah, maybe a little bit more than that, not less. Well, I say less than 2 years, and I'm 85. Remember, I talked about calling those things that be not as though they were. See, that's not a magic formula that I'm talking about, but that is a law that as you confess those things and talk about those things, and they become a reality for you, even though that you can't see them happening, because that's where faith comes in. Having great faith is faith in this. What does the word say about it? Faith is substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. You're saying those things even though that you don't see them, and some people would say that's a lie, but the truth is that the lie that you're living in is not what you want to continue to live on. You live in. You want to live in the faith to know that you can be an overcomer in all situations. I think in the lives and the times that we live in, people don't believe in absolutes, or don't know what absolutes are, the absolute truth. Love is an absolute. If you don't love, you reject truth, and then when you reject truth, you enter into a delusion, and that's what happens in life when you don't understand love, the revelation of love, and which is the truth, that you enter into illusions or delusions in your life, and then when you enter into that, then you believe a lie. And then when you believe a lie, you act upon the lie. And then when you act upon the lie, it comes at a high cost and consequences. And see, that's what happens a lot of times in our lives when we don't have absolute. Love is an absolute. God is an absolute. And so we there's no when I say there's no absolutes today, people don't believe in. Some people don't even believe in authority. And they're we see that now. Then, so if you don't have no absolutes in your life, you don't have no truth in your life, then you're vulnerable to fall for every situation. And so you need to understand the truth, and you understand that I'm talking about the love of that, the foundation of that. And then once you do that, then you become delusional. Because sometimes we become that way in life because we don't understand the absolutes that we need, or don't believe in absolutes. And again, when I say that you do that, then you can believe lies. Lies, and you're being lied to. The propaganda of that is to lie to you, to where that you will understand lies, and that you would think lies are truth, and they're not truth. And we know that when you believe it that of a lie, then you act upon the lie. And then when you act upon the lie, it causes all kinds of consequences. You're being lied to a lot of times about even people that they've told you that they loved you, and they had an ulterior motive to achieve something for themselves, and not to give you the type of love, and not to give you the true love that you need to have in your life. So I don't want to give you a lie, because I won't ever lie to you. That's something that I never did. Had I ever told a little lie or something like that? Well, of course, everyone has. If you say you haven't, then you're lying to yourself. you're you're not dealing with the truth, because we've all told that. But we don't want to live a lie. We want to be beyond that and to understand the truth about that. I hope that wasn't too much of a mixture of words there. I'm trying to get a point over to you, and but transition is okay, and a transition is good if you think it's good. If you think it's bad, and you believe that it's that, then it becomes a lie to you, and then it causes all different kinds of consequences. Sorry about moving this around a little bit and trying to keep myself out of the sun. But I'll come back here soon and we'll talk a little bit more about this. But right now I want to say about what Carolyn always says: we are eternal, and I will talk to you in a few minutes. Thank you. Love you guys.